You heard that? All right, excellent. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's Lunch and Learn for week 2 of the Wellness Challenge. There may be people still going to be joining, so I'll continue to look at my screen and welcome you if you come in a few minutes late. Nice to have you here. I hope everything's going well in week 2 of the Wellness Challenge. You made it through week 1. It's crazy how quickly this 4 weeks goes. So maybe you've seen a few small changes, improvements, feeling a little bit better, stronger, maybe even more energetic with this beautiful sunshine we have today. So just to let you know, from Swift Current here, I am Val from the city that I've been communicating with many of you. Our groups right now, last week I had said it was 20 and 170, but it's actually 21 teams with 187 participants is where we're sitting at. So congratulations to Swift Current. Shonovan will be talking to us in just a moment. I just wanted to let you know, I believe that the videos worked fine because I had nobody complain or ask me questions. I did hear a few people watch the videos later. So just a reminder that today this is being recorded, and after it's done, I will then place it, get it into a YouTube video. I'll put that link into the email to the team captains later this afternoon. It'll also be up on our city website. So if you don't have a chance to listen and watch today to get your 10 points, you will be able to do that later. A few other things I want to remind you, we have moved into week 2 and our weekly challenge is trying a new recipe, which you'll receive 10 points for. So I hope you're trying something new. I know right now, if you can see in Shonovan, they've got a healthy little snack going on in the background. They're going to get lots of points for today and try new recipes. Also a reminder that at the very end of today's Lunch and Learn, we'll be drawing a prize here in Swift Current, but also Shonovan will draw their prize also. Dana and Anna, would you like to say a hello from Shonovan?
Hi, I'm Dana, with the town of Shonovan.
I'm Anna. I'm with Town of Shonovan Communications.
And today we're joining you from the Grand Coteau Center. It's the local museum, and then the library's on the other side, and there's quite a crew here. So we thought we'd change it up. So yeah, they put together a little spread here. So they're getting their veggies and their plant-based proteins and even a new recipe, I believe.
A new recipe.
So that's awesome. For our teams, we still have 10 teams, and I think, yeah, we're around 98 participants is I think where we're at. So yeah, that's awesome. And I know, Val, you touched on this too. Just the only thing that I found was questions about the link. So just a reminder to teams that, yeah, we have to send out the YouTube link once we get it from Val. We'll send it out to the captains in an email, because the old link won't work anymore for the Zoom. And then that'll also be posted on the Town of Shonovan website as well to watch it later. And then for next week's Zoom, there will also be a new link in that same email. So just a reminder.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah, very good points. Sometimes I take those things for granted. I've been doing it long enough, but yeah, that email that comes out later this afternoon will have the link to this recording we're doing, but it'll also have your Zoom meeting for next week's too. So you got to really look at those emails. They have a lot of information in them. So, all right, well, we are here and excited about our presentation today. I'd like to introduce our presenter today, and Willow Glazier, who is coming here as a registered psychologist, is going to speak to us today about mindfulness, which I know we will very much enjoy, and it's a great skill that we can improve on. So we look forward to this topic and Willow's information. A reminder, if you have questions, you can put them in the chat. I'll try to keep my eye on that. Or at the very end, there'll be a few moments if you have any questions, and then we'll do the prize after that. So thank you so much, Willow, for coming and spending your time and sharing your knowledge with us today. I will pass it over to you. Thank you, Willow.
Thank you, Val. Just going to share screen here. Can everybody see? Oh, sorry. I couldn't see anybody. It's all good? All right. Thanks, Val. All right. So let's get going here. Talking about mindfulness. So first of all, hang on. There we go. Let's start with a tiny bit of introduction about who I am, where I'm coming from. I'm born here in Swift Current, a handful of years ago. I've spent many years back and forth between Saskatchewan and Alberta, a couple of years in BC as part of my education. In early 2022, I moved back to the Swift Current area with my husband and my 2 little kiddos, just to be closer to my roots, to my family. I've been a registered psychologist in Saskatchewan since that early 2022, and in Alberta since 2020. That's a bit of a lengthy process to get registered. So I've actually been working directly in the field since 2017. My absolute favorite thing to work with is trauma and the effects of trauma. But of course, that can actually look like a whole bunch of different things. So I'm never bored, to say the least. This is my way of saying that I'm not totally sure exactly what you were expecting me to offer today in terms of mindfulness, but you're going to get to talk about mindfulness that's very trauma informed, because it's one of my favorite things to talk about, and nobody said I couldn't do that. If you're interested in more of what services I offer, I do have a website. You can check it out. You can Google it. You can shoot me an email or a text. I also do have my information on the last slide of this slideshow. So what is mindfulness? Today's topic, that word gets tossed around a lot these days because mindfulness is apparently going to solve all our problems, right? Maybe, maybe not. I found a lot of official sounding definitions when I was prepping for this, but the one that I preferred most was this one here from the Very Well Mind website. Mindfulness is the practice of becoming more fully aware of the present moment, non-judgmentally and completely, rather than dwelling in the past or projecting into the future. It generally involves a heightened awareness of sensory stimuli, noticing your breathing, feeling the sensations of your body, etc., and being in the now. So, oh, there we are. We're focusing on the moment, the right now, not whatever we're ruminating on from the past or whatever we're worrying about in the future. Why is that helpful, other than as maybe a brief distraction? From a trauma lens, it's very critical, actually, whether we've had what other people might consider like a major trauma event or other events that maybe have just led to a shift in the way that our brain processes. The fact is that a lot of us, maybe even most of us, tend to spend a lot of time in what is often called our reptilian brain or our lizard brain. There. That just means it's our instinctive brain. It's our amygdala. It's in the limbic system, part of our brain that like processes emotions and does a whole swack of other things. Our amygdala, I am sorry to tell you, it's very dumb. Yours is dumb. Mine is too, so we're all in this together. The amygdala, or the dumb brain, does a lot of really cool things. It processes emotions, especially fear, a lot of other cool stuff. Our emotions are really important, and they're part of how our brain tries to keep us safe, such as alerting us of potential threats or just something that isn't quite right, you know, that fear, that anxiety type piece. But emotions are not facts, which means they can certainly lead us astray if we don't keep an eye on them. And that's why I call the amygdala the dumb brain, because even though it is an incredibly valuable part of our brain and it's excellent at its many, many jobs, it can also tend to be a little overactive, especially in our modern world where we've really just normalized chronic chaotic stress, and we have endless opportunities at our fingertips to invite dysfunction into our lives. So this is where we often unknowingly spend a lot of our time functioning from our survival responses or our fight, flight, freeze, or fawn responses. Some of those are probably familiar to a lot of you. And yes, we're going to talk about them, but I promise it'll be quick and hopefully painless. Starting with fight. This can include, a lot of the stuff that's on there, you know, when we're functioning from our fight mode, our dumb brain's fight mode, we can be very irritable, more likely to pick fights, to yell, to be agitated, have more of that pounding heart rate. Actually, our digestion can tend to not work properly. We might have digestive or stomach or gut issues. Sometimes we actually direct this more towards ourselves as well. Instead of going outward, we turn it inward, which is when we can be just nasty to ourselves, just talking to ourselves the way we would never talk to anybody that we cared about. And sometimes that can be a sign that our nervous system is actually not quite right, or that our amygdala is actually overactivated and has put us into fight. Speaking of nervous system, here's a little break. That's my dog, Ronan. I know he's handsome. He knows it too. Next, we come into, excuse me, flight. So this can include a lot of things, like too much screen time, maybe too much social media, like mindless scrolling on social media, too much TV, unhealthy sexual activity, excessive shopping, uncontrolled eating, working way more hours than necessary, maybe as a way to avoid your personal life or an unsettling home life. Substance use, all this kind of stuff can actually stem from more of a survival flight response, which again is we're living more in our amygdala or our dumb brain responses rather than our smart brain. So again, little nervous system break. That's my cat, River. She's cute. Freeze, our freeze response. So this one, our brain kind of is playing possum, like until this supposed danger is past. Sometimes this can happen when we've spent a lot of time in the other survival responses that take a lot of energy, and our nervous system gets overloaded and essentially shuts itself down for a timeout to regroup. And this can also look relatively functional in a lot of people too, but even from an internal experience, these people they may feel very detached from themselves. They might feel kind of that emotional numbness, that lethargy, that feeling shut down, that kind of thing. So that one is another one that definitely we can pop into. And Ronan, again, always looking handsome, that boy, in my opinion. And then finally, fawn. So this one doesn't get talked about very much, or not as much, at least in my experience. This is, again, that survival dumb brain instinctive response. So this is a fear where, excuse me, fawning is a fear response where the brain tries to please basically whatever or whoever is triggering the fear response to prevent them from feeling harm. So this could look like an intense avoidance of conflict or tension, like the kind where even thinking about a potentially tense conversation could leave you with a rock in your stomach and your heart trying to beat itself out of your chest, that kind of thing. A lot of people who are living in more of that fawn response may have a hard time standing up for themselves, like a really hard time, or they might just feel like they don't have their own say at home, at work, or with friends, kind of think like ultimate people pleasing behaviors. So that is our fight, flight, freeze, fawn. There's Crowley. He practices mindfulness because he is a cat, but he is also very judgmental about it, as you can tell, because he's just got that face. After all of that, why mindfulness? Basically the same reason why any therapist or any counselor who's worth their salt is going to try to teach you breathing techniques if you struggle with stress or anxiety symptoms, because we want to retrain your brain, the dumb brain, the amygdala, to better understand the difference between danger versus safety, right? And to do that, we can use a lot of different strategies, such as our body, breathing, that's foundational to working with your nervous system and working with that instinctive brain. Or like we're going to do here in a few minutes, using our 5 senses. And that's where that mindfulness can come in. When we're focusing on the right now, this moment, we are pulling our dumb brain out of the past where, who knows what happened, and pulling it out of that anticipated future where maybe our brain is always looking for future danger. And we're pulling it into the right now, into the present by saying, hey, maybe I'm looking out the window and I'm really noticing that big blue Saskatchewan sky. It's just beautiful today. Or maybe if it's spring, maybe I'm noticing the smell of lilac bushes, one of my favorite smells. Or maybe right now, as I'm sitting in this chair, I'm really noticing the firmness of the chair underneath me and the feeling of the floor under my feet, the firmness of that. This requires a different part of our brain. For most people, it's in the left hemisphere, but it really doesn't matter. It's definitely more in our logical executive functioning parts, the parts of our brain that develop a little bit later on in life, more like when we're in our 20s. And so that's why we want to focus on detail. We don't want to focus on generalized, like broad general statements. We want detail because that's what's going to activate the different part of your brain. So as an example, here's a picture I stole from Google. Some people might say, just a broad way of looking at it might be, oh, I noticed the water, I noticed the mountains. Great, it's a nice picture. And then we move on to the next thing. Okay, well, if we want to look at it more mindfully, we might ask questions about what do you like about it? Where are your eyes drawn to? Some people might notice the mirror's smooth reflection on the water, or the light streaming through that spot in the top there, the different angles of the rocks sticking out, all the different sizes and shapes of the rocks, the colors of the trees, or the trees that are in the sun versus the trees that are in the shade, noticing that difference. The colors of those little tufts of grass. The fact that there's dead wood, right? Some of those trees that are upright look like they are actually dead. They're going to fall over soon. Some of them there are dead trees in the water and on the rocks. Just noticing those. Maybe it's just the rocks, right? The actual mountain part where there's trees and the part where it's more rock and there's no trees. The details are what bring us to a different part of our brain. We need to use a different part of our brain to be able to access those kinds of details. And it doesn't need to be necessarily positive or things that we like either. Like if we were to do scent, which we will, sometimes we're around unpleasant smells, let's be honest. It's okay. Remember that we're trying to do this mindful activity in a more neutral and non-judgmental way. So I used to work in a pig farm many years ago, and shockingly, it smelled like pig manure. Besides the fact that a person just gets used to smells, or at least, I did, it's also possible just to notice the smell, notice the unpleasant thing, notice that maybe I don't find it pleasant, but if I get upset about it, it's not going to change the smell. And then to move on to the next thing, right? Let's go with same with taste. Oh yeah. I tend to sip at coffee kind of slow and steady throughout the day. So a lot of the time, if I'm doing this exercise and I haven't had anything to eat or drink, recently, something else, the main thing I'm going to notice is coffee aftertaste, which is really not that great a taste. But I still notice it because it's there. If I were to try to avoid it or like not think about it, it's still there. I can get annoyed or grossed out by it. It's still there. It's just going to be there unless I do something different. So I can do myself a kindness. I can do my brain a kindness, which is really what we're trying to do. And just observe that, oh, there's coffee aftertaste I'm noticing. For a lot of us, if we're used to being very critical and very judgmental about things, even things that are maybe neutral, but we still manage to find the negative things about it, this kind of retraining will absolutely take work because you are actually having to rewire your brain. You're having to create different connections instead of using the well-worn pathways in your brain. But in my opinion, it's absolutely worth it. This rewiring is absolutely worth it. So getting back to the dumb brain and the smart brain. So clearly I had a hard time picking a picture to represent the rational brain that didn't actually just bore me to tears. So you have a very smart looking corgi butt because it made me laugh when I saw it. Anyway, so we're trying to train our amygdala, our dumb brain, the part that's maybe going into survival mode due to high stress or past events or whatever, even though we're not currently in danger. We're trying to train that part of our brain by using and activating our smart brain, or our logical, rational, clever corgi butt brain. And mindfulness is a tool to help us do that. So let's try it out. This is Banjo. She's nervous, but she's ready to try it out. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put up a slide. We're going to go through the 5 senses, touch, sight, hearing, smell, taste, in that order. And I'm going to put up a slide with each one on there, one at a time. And I'll kind of introduce one option, or share one option for each one, something that I'm noticing in that sense. And then I'm just going to be quiet for a little bit. And if anybody wants to, turn on their mic and share something that they're noticing, you are so very welcome to do that. That would be fantastic. But I also know technology can be kind of complicated sometimes. So if you just want to notice it wherever you're at and just quietly notice, you are also welcome to do that too. Okay, and also, of course, people watching the video later, you can participate whenever you join in. So starting with touch, one thing that I notice is, you can't see this, but I have a really worn patch on the top of my desk, and then the rest around it is really smooth. And so if I run my hand across my desk, I can feel the really smooth part where there's very little resistance to my hand. And then I can feel the part where there's like some nicks and gouges, and it's kind of well-loved section. And I can feel the resistance when I rub my hand over that versus when I rub my hand over the smooth part. And so all I'm noticing is that. I'm not getting mad at the fact that my desk has these marks in it. I'm just noticing that they're there, right? Another option would be my sweater. My shirt here is actually quite soft. And so if I touch it, I can just really notice the smoothness, the texture. If I were to touch my pants, it's a different material. I know that would be different. And so that would be an option too, to just compare and contrast. So this is like a mini mindfulness exercise. So whatever you're doing, wherever you are, just find something that you can touch, feel with your body. And moving to sight. So I did this example before. I'll do another one. If I were to, I'll just use my sunglasses so I can actually bring it up. I don't know if you guys can actually see me, but if you can, I'm holding up a pair of sunglasses. They have a little bit of, I can't remember what pattern it is. It's kind of like a brown tortoise shell. But I can notice the parts of my sunglasses where it's really dark and opaque, can't see through it. And then there's a little stream or little threads where it's very light, and I can actually see through the arm of the sunglasses, and I can see the different colors. There's no pattern to it. It just looks very random. I can just notice that. What do you guys notice? What can you notice wherever you are? Just something visually, some kind of detail. And hearing. So some of us might be in kind of a noisier environment, some might be in a quieter. Either way, we can always find something to notice with hearing. For me, I have a tiny little fountain I can hear behind me, and so I can hear the sound of water, tiny little bit of water splashing. What can you guys notice where you are? Okay, so this one, if you guys still have food around, this one might be pretty easy. Something that you can smell. If there's a lot of smells, maybe try to isolate one part of it. right? You know, if there's oh, now I'm thinking of cinnamon buns all of a sudden. But you know, if I had a cinnamon bun, this is not part of your healthy thing, I know. But let's say that there was a healthy cinnamon bun, and we could imagine this. The smell of the bread versus maybe the cinnamon or the brown sugar or whatever, right? I have a little bit of lip balm here, and my nose is a little stuffed up, so I can't really smell, but it's a little bit pepperminty. I know it's actually, in fact, very pepperminty. And so just noticing that smell, breathe it in and just notice it. So if you've got food or anything around you that's got a bit of a scent to it, just go ahead and notice it. Last night, my kiddos had to kick the dog out of their room because apparently he was being a bit stinky. So hopefully you have more pleasant smells around you than that. But even if you don't, that's okay. We can notice the bad smells. We can notice the pig manure too. And last, we have taste. So I'm actually going to use water for this, but water has a taste, right? Maybe it tastes essentially like nothing, but it always has a taste. So just having a bit. It's actually very filtered water, so it has very little taste, but even just noticing that, or having a tea or a coffee or something to eat, piece of gum, anything like that. And then just to do a little bit of overall mindfulness about what we just did. What did you notice about this exercise? Was there anything that was surprisingly hard or enjoyable or like difficult? Like, did you like it? Did you not like it? Even when we do something that we don't really enjoy, we can still mindfully notice it and be reflective about what we liked or didn't like about it. Another exercise that I do all the time, we're not going to do it here, but sometimes it's hard to bring our brain into focus, even for short little bits like this sometimes. And so some people, I really recommend a lot of body-based exercises. So if you're not familiar with that kind, I recommend, excuse me, doing a Google or a YouTube search for progressive or paired muscle relaxation exercises, and it focuses on tensing body parts and relaxing, and all you're doing is noticing the difference in your body between that tensed feeling and that relaxed feeling. So if you go online, you'll find tons and tons of exercises, and some of them are actually really good. Okay. So if you have any thoughts or questions, feel free to put them in the chat or just bring them up after this. I just wanted to first say thank you so much for inviting me to join you today, and special thanks to Val for organizing that and getting me all organized with this. I know we're pretty much out of time, but I do have a couple of minutes if anyone wants to ask any questions or has any comments. Right.
Well, they're either still pondering, maybe they're still going through their census right now. Remember that if you do have any questions later, those who are with us today or watching later, you can always send them to me as an email, and I could reach out to Willow if there was something specific or you have a question later that you comes up. Yeah, don't hesitate to ask that. One comment I had, I've done similar experiences like that before with mindfulness and using the five senses, but I think it's interesting that you also said it's okay to be aware and mindful of unpleasant smells, unpleasant tastes, unpleasant feelings, because I think I've always tried to force myself to be aware of the positive. And I think that's really important too. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for that comment.
well, I am just watching the time here. So, I'd just like to say a huge thank you, Willow, for spending your time with us today, sharing your beautiful pictures of your animals and a little bit about who you are and some information on mindfulness. It is important, I do believe. You're right. Sometimes we get these words and we're all like, hey, I have to be mindful, but why? What's the purpose of being mindful? And I really liked that idea that we're trying to train our brain to go from one place to another. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your passion and all that your work that you do. We wish you and your little ones and your family of animals too a healthy, happy spring. It appears like spring's here, but there may be some winter ahead of us. So thank you again for being with us today, Willow. And at this moment, we are going to do a drum roll of finding our lucky winners. Why don't we, Anna and Dana, are you okay to go first? They have a fancy way of finding a Shaunavon winner for today, and then I will do mine after, and then we'll say goodbye in just a couple minutes.
Awesome. Thanks, Val. So today's prize, we kind of wanted to tie it in with mindfulness. So we've got the Shaunavon Library graciously donated some books. So one is just a remarkable story about living your dreams. And then one is called Think Happy. And then there's a little set of bookmarks that goes with it. So I will just pull up my little wheel and spin that and we'll find our winners. So the Aquabells Plus are not in this wheel because they won last week. So this week's winners are the Revitalized Rebels. And so that team captain is Audrey Carlton. So congratulations, you guys.
Fantastic. Well, congratulations. And could I please have, I see Diane in the screen there. Could Damien Oman's screen, if you could give me a number between 1 and 21, could one of you unmute your screen there? Oh, perfect. Thank you. I guess I could try to unmute you.
Hey, can you hear us?
Yes, I sure can. So I need a number between 1 and 21, but you cannot choose number 19. They were our winners last week. Oh, and I'd like to say that today's winner is from Central Avenue Physiotherapy. We have a 6-week wellness program as well as a muscle roller. So thank you very much to Central Avenue Physiotherapy for your generous donation. And what is the number that we have for winner today?
Number 5.
Number 5. Oh, isn't that interesting? We'll see if they want to donate it back. It's actually Central Avenue Physiotherapy has put a team in, which is TLC. So you know what? I'll reach out to their team captain and we'll see. We'll see about swapping it, or if they want to give back, I'll choose a number and I will just put it in our email later. So. All right, well, thank you so very much, everyone, for coming to week 2 of Lunch and Learn. I hope you continue to enjoy the wellness and be a little mindful as you go throughout your day today, and to bring us from the dumb brain into the front and rational brain, I believe. So thank you again, Willow. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And those who are not with us today, we hope you enjoy listening to this for your 10 points in the Wellness Challenge. And also a reminder to our team captains, both for Shaunavon and Swift Current, that after week 2, we will want your team average points to be sent in to myself, Val, by February 7th, and to Dana and Anna by February 7th of next week. All right, everyone, have a fantastic day. Take care.